The opinions and views expressed in the following program are those of the speakers and the host, and do not necessarily reflect those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and your sports network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? But can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look in my soul. I've been afraid I would follow the road. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
Hello, everybody. Welcome inside a Friday, yes, TGIF Friday episode of Running Point on ysnlive.com. As always, we are brought to you, proudly presented by Greenwood Chevrolet. You can see in the top right-hand corner of the screen. We thank them for their constant sponsorship and presentation of Running Point. Couldn't do without them. They go the extra mile for you. And we try to do the same here on this show every single day. Got a great one in store for you on this wonderful Friday afternoon. We are also obviously going to recap the action from last night, have a lot of fun stuff to talk about there. We have a player profile to feature today from Grace McQuiston, the Canfield senior. And we also are going to preview a bunch of games tonight. There's a big slate of games. So many that actually ran in the room on our scoreboard with some of these teams that are playing at non-YSN schools. So that's how many games that like everyone's playing today. That's the deal. Everyone's playing today. So we have a big slate of games on the network today. Grace McQuiston's going to have a player profile featured today. And obviously we will recap the action that is last night. Speaking of player profiles, that is why we have a little bit of a late start. I want to apologize for that. I know we didn't start at 1 on the dot. But we had a player profile literally get recorded right before the show. It was a very fun interview. One of those ones that you kind of get lost in the conversation. So can't wait to feature that one next week. Not going to tell you who it is. Going to have to tease it a little bit. But I think you're going to enjoy it. It's going to be a fun one to preview, to feature, I should say, to next week when we get to it. So a lot of player profiles being recorded, being scheduled, and we're getting to shine a light on a lot of great athletes this year. Let's hop in to the scoreboard on ysnlive.com, which is presented by Burnett Pools, Spas, and Hot Tubs. The YSN scoreboard is a great tool for the fans, whether you're at one of the games or you're watching one of our broadcasts, or maybe you're doing both. The YSN scoreboard is a great way to find live updated scores from the night, and you can check in on your rivals. You can check in on your friends. It is going to be live updated. You don't have to wait until midnight for the final scores to come in. We have a team that works very diligently behind the scenes to make sure the scoreboard is as live updated as possible. Our announcers report scores in it while the game is going on, so thank you to them as well. And this scoreboard is a great tool. It's a great addition to our website, so I hope you check it out. ysnlive.com/scores is where you can find it. Thursday, December 4th, yesterday. Let's go back in time a little bit, hop in the DeLorean, and see what went down yesterday. NE8 starting to heat up as Girard and Lakeview met up in Girard, and it is the Indians getting a big win to keep pace in the NE8. 68-31, the final score there. Beaver Local got 28 points from Peyton Roberts, who is just a tick off of 1,000, I believe 32 points away from 1,000. A big night for her with 28 against St. Clairsville. Beaver Local wins 49-41. LeBray takes care of Campbell inside the MVAC grade tier. 57-15, the final score there. You had Champion take care of Liberty. 53-21. Champion trying to keep pace in that MVAC, so when they get into that second matchup with LeBray and Crestview, it will still have a lot on the line. LeBray still has to play Crestview for the first time, so the Vikings trying to make sure they only have one loss when they may meet up with the Rebels for the first time. Both those teams trying to catch the Crestview Rebels, who are still undefeated in the MVAC. They won 55-8 last night over Garrettsville Garfield. Cheney and Hubbard get together, and Cheney gets the edge win, 42-37. The Cowgirls having a great season, and they get the win there. We have Columbiana getting the big win over Latonia, 57-8, the final score with that one. Lowville gets the win over Sebring, 62-9, big one. A lot of blowouts last night. A lot of teams just putting teams away. We had Archbishop Hoban. Their defense was great. Their offense was great. One of the more absolute complete games we've seen out of the night, 71-45. Lutheran East is the victim of the latest Hoban win in the castle. Wellsville gets the close win. We had a tight game as well. Wellsville 47, Lisbon 45. The Tigers get a win in the EOAC. Let's go to Brookfield. They get a big night from Maya Jumper, scoring 17 as they win 39-32 over Newton Falls. Maya Jumper and Kaylee Wellman combine for 28 of their points, as Kaylee Wellman had 11. Remember, Kaylee Wellman averages a double-double, so no shocker to see her in double figures. How about Niles and Struthers playing a tight one? Niles gets the win. 47-46, big one for the Dragons. South Range, though, shakes up the NE8. They get the win over conference leading Poland, 46-41, the final score there. And we'll talk more about that game after we get the recaps. I'll kind of go over some thoughts of the scores after we get through all of them. Southern Local gets the big win over Valley Christian, 53-2. United escapes a scare from East Palestine. They were down by 1 heading into the fourth quarter, but they win the fourth quarter by 10, and they win the game 45-36 over the Bulldogs. Warren JFK, no problems with Southeast. Their offense is still one of the most electric offenses that we see in the YSN family. They have another game in the 70s, 71-63. The Eagles get the dub. Jackson Milton with a 38-22 win over McDonald. Jackson Milton now don't look too hard, but man, they're 7-4 on the season. The Blue Jays having a great year coming back from their 1-year hiatus. Mohawk falls in a tight one with Beaver Falls, 56-50. The final score there. Badger, no problem in Lordstown, 64-19. The final score with that one. Pymatuning Valley gets the win over Matthews, 63-21. And then Maplewood gets the best of Wyndham, 57-47, the final score there. So let's go over some of these games, some of these things that happened last night. I'll start with the game that I was at, South Range and Poland. And anytime these two teams get together, you know it's going to be a really fun matchup. You really just do. They both respect each other a ton, but they also both just don't like losing to the other. Like they play so hard to beat each other. This is a rivalry. This has turned into a big rivalry, especially on the girls' sides of sports. You talk about softball. They played each other 3 times last year, twice in conference play, once in the district championship, right? South Range took 2 of 3 or 3 of 3. They took all 3 last year. You look at the basketball. Poland has dominated NE8 basketball. Obviously, they've won the first 5 championships. Shared it once with South Range. South Range, one of just 3 teams in the NE8 that had beaten Poland in NE8 play coming into last night. Still no one has beaten Poland at home, but South Range has gotten the win in the Thriller Dome before. They come into tonight, and it was one of those ones where you just didn't know how it was going to go. South Range definitely doesn't have the best record. They didn't have the best start to the season. And Poland, they're just kind of taking care of business in the league coming into last night. But here's I think the big caveat for this game is Poland was coming off a big break. They had no games over the Christmas break. So they were, I think, off for something like 14 days since their last game. And South Range played twice. They lost to Ursuline. They beat Springfield. They got those 2 games in the Holiday Hoops Classic. And I think that Springfield game is really important when looking at this one because for the first time this year, South Range got into a close game and was able to pull it out against Springfield. So that gave them one confidence, like just the confidence of we can beat good teams. Springfield was a 7-3 team coming into that game. And South Range just said, hey, we can beat this team. And that gave them confidence to say, we're good enough to beat a team like Springfield. But then it also just gave them that experience of being in a tight game and not falling apart. Springfield took a late 3-point lead, remember, in that game. And it could have been an easy cop-out for South Range to say, pack it in. Hey, we're a 2-win team. We're not supposed to win this game. Let's just pack it in and go home and say, hey, Springfield, good job. We pushed you, but get the best of us. That could have been the way South Range handled that fourth quarter. But it wasn't. They hit a 3, they tied the game, and they really, from that tie game on, they controlled that fourth quarter, and they won. They beat Springfield by 3. It was almost a carbon copy. The only difference in this game is that South Range played a little bit more consistently in the first half and took a big lead in the halftime. And then because of that big lead, they were able to absorb a couple of Poland runs that Poland made. If Poland made those runs and the game was tied or the game was a 1-point game, maybe Poland runs away with it because they had a 9-0 run in the second half. They had a couple of big runs. And if that gives Poland a big lead with that defense, it would have been really hard for South Range to come back from that. But because South Range had a very good start and especially a very good second quarter. It was tied at 9 after 1. So they kept pace in the first quarter. In the second quarter, they took a 8-point lead. So they won the second quarter by 8 points. And I think that's important. I think that's really important for South Range to get early leads, to jump on people because their defense is set up for success. Like they're not going to be a team that scores a ridiculous amount of points. Like this was a good offensive performance from them. And it was 46, right? This was one of their best offensive days. And they had 46. So they're not going to blow you out offensively. They need to rely on defense. And defensive teams need leads. So I think having that big second quarter where they jumped out to a 10-point lead, Mary Brand hits a buzzer beater to make it 8 before the half. That was big for South Range because then they could handle a couple of runs. They could handle not having to be perfect every minute of the second half. And I think that's the big reason why they were able to win. Poland made their biggest run in the fourth quarter. They started the fourth quarter. I believe they started the fourth quarter on a maybe 10-0 run, 12-0 run, something like that. They went up by 3 right out of the gates of the fourth quarter. And then, just like the Springfield game, corner 3, almost the same spot, Gwen Lowry hits a 3. They get tied, and then from that point on, South Range really controlled the tempo of that game. Once they relaxed, tied up the game, they ran away with it, really. Poland made it another little tiny run at the end to make it kind of closer than it could have been. I mean, South Range, if some of those possessions go their way, they probably could have won this game by double digits. But Poland, they don't go down easy. They don't go down easy. I said in the broadcast, they will not go easily into that night. And they wouldn't. They kept fighting. Even when the game was probably, quote unquote over. They were able to find ways to the foul line, attack the basket, score without the clock moving, and keep this, right in that 2 possession. You still have hope kind of situation. I want to talk about South Range's Gwen Lowry, who scored 20 points, 12 rebounds, just the second Raider to play Poland in NBA play and score 20 points. She ties Izzy Lamparty with the most points against Poland for a Raider in NBA play. Back in 2021, Izzy Lamparty had 20 points, 22 rebounds. But the caveat is, believe it or not, that was a loss for South Range. That was at Poland, 45-35. South Range lost that game. And then later that year, South Range won. And get this, Izzy Lamparty was held to 5 points. So sometimes, and this is my next point when we're talking about Poland, it was really awesome to see Gwen Lowry get that bucket and get those point totals because of the fact that Poland usually does not give up big numbers to one player. You look at the way to beat Poland for the last 5, 6, 7 years has always been balanced offense. They do not let one person go off usually. There's been some outliers that they're just saying, we're not going to stop this girl. Let's make sure no one surrounds her with points. Daishnett Harris was one of those. I think she scored, 26 against them, 30, something like that. Like, obviously, went on to play at Pitt, now at Clemson. Daishnett Harris is fantastic. So they weren't gonna hold her down. But they didn't let other people score. And then another player, I think Ysn Lamparty is one of those ones where she could go and score what she wanted to against Poland. But you look at the one they won. The one game South Range won while Ysn Lamparty was there is he had 5 and the rest of her team chipped in, 11, 6, 8, things like that. That has been the blueprint to beating Poland. But Gwen Lowry says, "Hey, you know what? I'm going to drop 20. I'm going to go do a double-double. 20 points, 12 rebounds. What a game for Gwen Lowry." And then Devin Sauerwein added 10. She played the whole fourth quarter with foul trouble. She had 2 fouls quick. This team is a different team without her on the floor. Devin Sauerwein does a great job keeping South Range out of messes, out of turnovers. You could see the difference when she wasn't able to be on the floor, when Coach Fischel had to make the tactical decision to sit her to avoid a fourth or fifth foul. South Range started to get a little bit turnover happy, a little bit panicked, a little bit, into unforced errors. And as soon as Devin Sauerwein would get on the floor, it'd be like a calming factor almost. They weren't making those mistakes anymore. They were making the nice plays. They were making the good passes. So having her on the floor is so important, not just because, yeah, she can score and she's a threat. She had 10 points. She can use her speed. She can drive. She can shoot. She had a really good little sidestep 3 in this game. So she can score. But her presence, just calming presence, leadership, and ability to not turn over the basketball, I think is so important for this Raiders team because that's what hurt them in the first half of the season. Turnovers. And yeah, they turned the ball over, and you're not gonna play Poland and not turn the ball over. There were some silly passes, some cross court, passes that were late, or some that should have been bounce passes that got picked off. Yeah, Poland's gonna force you into turnovers, but I think the key was South Range didn't have them in bunches and didn't have them in really bad situations, like, late in the fourth quarter, late in the second half. Those big moments of the game, South Range really stayed away from the turnovers, or at least the live ball turnovers, which really hurts you. So on Poland's side, the thing that is going to define their success this year is, can these younger players that are kind of new to the varsity level find consistency? Because we've seen them look really good. We've seen them score and contribute on the offensive side. And then we've seen them not really be able to at times too. They're young. They're new to the varsity level. They're going to have inconsistency. So I think that the success of Poland is going to come down to how fast those players, your Avery Yakubovics, your Bocheris, your Elena Thompson, how fast can they get consistent? Because Mary Brandt's going to give you the Mary Brandt performance. She had 17 points last night. She's going to give you what Mary Brandt's going to give you. She's going to be your leader, find ways to score, but she's not going to be able to put everything on her shoulders and score 30 a game and just say, hey, we're going to win on my offense. So you got to have those complementary scorers. Now, Kylie Hedren will be back eventually. So she's going to be a nice shooter that they can add to the perimeter. But then, we've seen Avery Yakubovic score really well in that Springfield game, probably save that game. We've seen Leanne Williams be able to be a very good presence inside. We've seen the flashes of point guard ability and just speed and being able to attack the basket from Eliana Thompson. We've seen her shoot pretty well. So I think Poland just needs to find, consistency with those players that are new or newer to the varsity level, especially at this, at the minutes they're getting this year. And once that happens, I think they're golden. Their defense is going to keep them in every game they play. If they find consistency in offense, there's not a lot of teams that are going to be able to say we have the absolute advantage against Poland. And I think Nick Blanche can take as much time as he wants to do that. Like, everyone wants to win the conference. That's obviously the goal. And they still have the first place spot. They still have one loss. They're still sitting in the driver's seat in the 88. This loss doesn't knock them down into third place or anything like that. So they're still in the driver's seat. And when you look at that, that means that they can kind of they can be aggressive. They can take their time in making sure these players get consistent, because at the end of the day, even if they don't win the 88, which would be, something that hasn't happened yet, but even if they don't win it, if that means that their girls get consistent for tournament time, I think Nick Blanche would take it. I think he would. And they have one more game to shore up the first half of the 88 play before they go in the second half. And South Range has been really interesting. Poland with 1 loss, South Range with 2. Obviously South Range has to go through the second half clean. They lost to Girard and Lakeview, so they're going to have second chances with both those teams that they have to be able to, take care of business against. Girard will be a home game for South Range, but they will have to go to Lakeview to get that win. They're gonna have to make sure that they don't slip up against those teams. So when they do get to Poland, and if they do get to Poland and both teams have taken care of business from that point on, and it's 2 wins, 2 loss South Range, 1 loss Poland, it could go right back down to the South Range Poland game, like it has for 4 of the 5 years the NE8 has already existed in girls basketball. We could see that, but both teams have to take care of business. On Poland's side, Girard gave them a heck of a game the first time in Poland, so they have to go on the road and play Girard again. You can't forget about that. So that'll be a really fun one as well. And they still have one more matchup with Struthers, who barely lost to Niles last night. So Poland's going to try to fight for an NE8 championship. So is South Range. It's looking like the way South Range has made this kind of turn, it may just come down to the Bulldogs and the Raiders for the 5th time in 6 years of the NE8 conference being a thing. Some of the other games that we saw across the network, and I said Peyton Roberts is really close to 1,000. This is a big win for Beaver Local, for them to go forward a little bit. Obviously, St. Clairsville is struggling this year, just 2 wins in the season, but you need these kind of wins in the middle stretch of the season to get some confidence back and to try to have a good second half and try to go down the home stretch to get some confidence heading into the tournament time. Because I said it before, say it again, when you hit January, this is when you start thinking this is when we have to hit our stride. December and late November doesn't matter if you hit your stride in January and February. So Beaver Local starting to find some rhythm and getting Peyton Roberts to get loose a little bit. 28 points for her. It's a good news for Beaver Local. Winning is always fun, and it always makes everyone else work a little bit harder because they realize, hey, everything we've been doing in practice, it's working because we got to win. Those results are really a good tool for the coach to say, hey, you did what I said. You trusted my process. You trusted what I was saying. We went out there. We got to win. So I think Beaver Local will take this win and use it to run away. And then the other thing we got to say before we move on to the next segment of the show, this MVAC great tier really heating up. I mean, all these teams with games that they needed to take care of business in. Obviously, LeBray, Champion, and Crestview. I still think it's a 3-horse race. I really do. You have Champion and LeBray both with 1 loss. They've beaten each other, and then obviously Champion lost to Crestview. I mean, they haven't beaten each other. They haven't played twice. Champion beat LeBray. Crestview beat Champion, and Champion Crestview and LeBray have not played each other once yet. So they will have their first meeting soon. And when they do, the winner of that game obviously puts a big shakeup in the conference. If Crestview wins, they put LeBray in a big tight spot, right? Because LeBray would have 2 losses. They'd have another 2 matchups with Champion and Crestview. And basically, they wouldn't be able to afford losing either one of those. And they'd have to hope that at that point, if they lost to Crestview, they'd have to hope that not only did they beat Crestview, but Champion beats them as well. So they're kind of in that spot where they have to beat Crestview the first time to stay in the hunt. Champion, their 1 loss is to Crestview. So if they go and they beat LeBray again, their second matchup on the horizon, then they could go and they could have this an MVAC championship with Crestview. The caveat is that's going to be on the road. They have to go to the Rebels to do that. But I thought the first game was pretty dang competitive. I thought there was nothing in that game that told me the Champion couldn't win it. They played really good defense against Crestview. I think they knew. I think Coach Michael Cole knew that they weren't going to be able to run off the score against Crestview. They weren't going to be able to get as many open looks. They weren't going to be able to get as many good looks, especially inside against the length of Crestview has. So I think he knew we have to win this game with defense, and they played really good defense in that 8-point loss to the Rebels. So I think Champion still has a chance. I think LeBray, who only lost to Champion by 2 points, they have a solid chance too. I'm excited to see what they do against Crestview. They're a young team. They can shoot pretty dang well. They have a little bit more variation in abilities than Champion does. They have a couple of drivers, a couple of shooters, a couple of post presence. So a little bit more balance. Champion's offense is known for their shooting. And LeBray can do a little bit of everything. Maybe not as good shooters as Champion is, but they can do a little bit of everything. So excited to see what LeBray does against Crestview. And right now the Rebels are just looking unstoppable. They have a big matchup with Poland, actually. We're talking about Poland, talking about Crestview. They're going to see each other on Saturday. And that's one that Poland desperately needs. They want to win bad. They want to be able to get that winning, feeling back in their system before they go back to NE8 play. And Crestview, I think they just want to see what the measuring stick is. I mean, I know record-wise you think Crestview is the favorite, but when you look at lineage and size and kind of program mystique, I guess I could say, or pedigree, this is one that like a lot of people are just going to look at and see, well, Poland should win that game because Poland's been Poland and they've been a Division II team for so long, and they're seen as bigger even though they're both in the same division now. It's going to be fun. It's going to be one of those ones where it's like, if you really dive into the basketball, it would be an upset if Poland won. But because of the feel of it, because of the namesake, because of what Poland has done in the past, it almost feels like Crestview would be the underdog. But I don't think basketball-wise they are. I just think it's just prestige-wise almost. Namesake. What does Poland's name carry in girls basketball? So being a program like that, it's almost like beating Mooney in football. Mooney has that same, no matter what their record is, they're one of those teams that's looked at like they should win this game. And if we beat them, especially if they're, if a Crestview type football team goes and beats Mooney, even if Crestview is just better, like you're watching them and you think Crestview just looks better this year, you almost feel like it's an upset if Crestview wins that game because it's Mooney, right? It's Mooney football. They're supposed to win games. I think Poland has the same kind of pedigree when girls basketball. They've won districts. They've been in every district championship. They win NE8 championships. They have multiple 20-win seasons. So you almost look at that and you just go, Poland's supposed to win this game, even if this year it looks like Crestview might be the better basketball team. So that's going to be an interesting one on Saturday. Columbiana had that same situation where they were able to beat Poland by 2 in Columbiana. So can Crestview do the same thing? Because it's a big boost when you beat a program like that. I don't care what their record is. When you beat a program with the name and the prestige of Poland, I'm sure Coach Blatch would use that to his full advantage to bring confidence into the second half of MVAC play. Crestview versus Poland going on Saturday. But we have plenty of games going on tonight. Stick around on Running Point. We're going to break out down the night's action. But first, we're going to have a player profile by Grace McQuiston. Don't go anywhere. Running Point, always brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Back in a bit.
21 News delivers the news as it happens, using the latest technology from where it happens.
I'm live here outside the Mahoney County.
On air, online,
Wednesday afternoon weather update.
Very dangerous.
and on the 21 News social media platforms.
I'm on the road right now.
21 News, the Valley's only locally owned source for trusted news since 1953.
Craftsmanship to us is 60 years of pride and dedication.
Passed down from generation to generation.
The hardwood floors that your kids take their first steps on.
The solid wood doors you quietly close at night.
The things we create day in and day out are the products that end up turning your house into a home.
At Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods, uncompromising quality and craftsmanship built our business.
And it will keep us moving forward for generations to come.
Going the extra mile at Greenwood Chevrolet means we want to take care of the community that takes care of us too.
And we have to work together always. And that's how you stay in business for 40 years.
You know, I love being a helper because when I help somebody, it makes me feel good.
It means a lot that I can make a difference in others' lives.
So I will do everything I can and just being there for them every step of the way.
I want them to know within the first 5 minutes that they could depend on me. That's what going the extra mile means, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Before the lights come on, before the workday begins, before a long day is ended, or it's time to have fun. It all starts with the people at Joe Dickey Electric. From replacing a light fixture in your home to building a substation for your business, no job is too big or too small. The people of Joe Dickey Electric power them all. Joe Dickey Electric, over 60 years of powering the Mahoning Valley.
and welcome back to Running Point on ysnlive.com, brought to you as always by our good friends over at Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Anthony Hartwig with you. We have a player profile to feature on today's episode of Running Point. We're going to go from the AAC in Canfield. It is Grace McQuiston, one of their senior leaders. What a great conversation we had with her. And here is her player profile featured on Running Point. All right, Anthony Hartwig here with a Canfield girls basketball player profile. I am joined by Grace McQuiston, good old number 0. Grace, thanks so much for taking the time to join us today.
Thank you.
You got it. Let's talk about this this year and the senior season that you're going into. What has it been like trying to, deal with all the emotions that senior year can bring?
It's a really exciting time, but it's also really sad, like leaving all my friends and all that. But it's really exciting to like take the next step and go into college and hopefully play in college in the future too after this year. So I'm excited, but it's also sad to be leaving all my friends, especially considering I've only been with this group of girls for 3 years, 2.5.
Has the reality of senior year hit yet? Has it have you realized that it's senior year?
Definitely. Once I was starting to like apply for colleges, I was like, wow, this is real. Like I'm going to be leaving here in a couple months.
What are you doing to try to kind of just take in every game and take in every moment and try to treasure it as much as you can, knowing, like you said, this is your last go around and this is the last time you're going to play with these girls?
We all just try and make it fun and do everything we can to obviously win, and we just try and make it fun. But I mean, we're really just trying to win, but it's a lot more fun that way. But we do a lot of we're just a fun group. Like we're always really close, and we'll like go out to eat sometimes. We'll like go get breakfast in the mornings after an early morning practice. So we really just try and spend as much time as we can together.
You've been able to build your leadership tools with these fellow seniors that you have, and all of you are kind of in the same boat where it's kind of your time to shine, because last year's team was full of very good seniors in their own right that had their own leadership capabilities. So now here we are this season where it's your turn to be a senior and a leader. What's that been like, transitioning from last year to this year and trying to be the best senior leaders that you can be?
The other seniors, they left a really good mark on us. We really learned a lot from Abby, Carly, Kate, and Emmy. We learned a lot from them. And we just learned how to be like good leaders through them. And I think all of the other girls, we also had like Jenna and Carly, they're stepping up too and being good leaders. So it's not even just us, it's all of us. So we all try and lead in our own way.
When those seniors left, I think everyone knew that Canfield girls basketball was going to have a different look this year. There are going to be a lot of new faces, and you haven't missed a beat so far yet this season. What's that been like to kind of have being good at different things and trying to find the identity with this team?
I think right now we're all just trying to find like our specific jobs or roles on the team, because our chemistry, the other team had a lot of chemistry because they've been playing for so long together. That was kind of a main goal of us over the summer. We needed to get our chemistry together because we haven't really played as much together as long as they have, or maybe they have, but we haven't like all played together as a group, especially with some new faces like me, Jenna, and Carly specifically. We all needed to kind of get our chemistry together. So we're more of a running down the court and get a layup team because we're all pretty fast. So I mean, we're still good shooters, but our jobs are different than they were last year.
Let's talk about the last game out. We can't not talk about it because it was such a dramatic win for you guys. The 3 at the buzzer to beat Marlington, and it was one of those games where, the offense wasn't going the way anyone wanted to in the first half, but you guys were able to stay confident and grind through a tough game. What was it like to be a part of that moment when you see Cammie take that shot and then you'll watch the ball, it goes in, and that you just won one of the best games that you'll probably ever win in your career?
Oh yeah, it was great. I remember I was just sitting in the corner. I was waiting just in case, and I remember watching the shot go up. I was like, oh my gosh, and then it went in, and I just ran over and we all just tackled her. That was the only right way to handle that. I mean, that was a great game. That was a great game to play in.
What is a win like that right before the break and going into now the quote unquote second half of the season? What does that do for this team?
I think that really gives us some motivation to show us like how good we really can be, especially considering that we were down 18-6 at halftime. It really shows us how much potential we have once we like really put our mind to it and once we really focus because like you said in the first half, we really weren't making a lot of shots at all. But I think we only had 6 points, but I think it really showed us. And then as we continue on to the season, we continue to build up upon that off of that win and other learning experiences from other games, like our last game. So really learning off of that too.
The basketball adage is shooters shoot, and you lived that to the fullest. You didn't stop shooting in that second half. You never stopped shooting. What does that confidence come from? Like, what gives you that confidence, and what draws it to you?
I've just put so much time in. Like every morning before school, I always go and shoot free throws. I always stay after practice, and shoot. It's just really hours and shots put up. You know, if you put the time in and the work in, you know it's going to pay off eventually. So if I'm shooting, at least one has to go in eventually, I guess. So
when you talk about all that work you put in, obviously there has to be a driving force to that because you're able to drive through the days where maybe you don't want to go take shots or days where you don't want to go to practice and you drive through them. What gives you that inner drive to work so hard at basketball?
Really, a lot of it comes from my dad, and my mom passed away like about a year ago now. So that really gives me a lot of motivation from that. A lot of motivation. So I can really like, you know, be like do it for her. And I just, you know, I want to go play college basketball. So that's definitely a big motivator too, to go and put the work in and get there.
When we ask most players about adversity, you know, what they have had to go through throughout their career, you've had to go through more than most. You know, not a lot of players have to say they lost a parent. What was that like for you to try to get through that and obviously have so many players and so many teammates and so many sisters to help you get through that? Now, like you said, you use it as motivation to come out and try to play every day for her and everything you're going through. So talk about that, what it was like to go through that and what it was like to build with this Canfield, you know, community through that time.
You know, at the time it was rough, but I'll never forget the day of my funeral or the day of her funeral. All of my teammates and my coaches and even some of the parents like the Harmons, they came to my mom's funeral and that really showed me that like this is a sisterhood and this is a family and I love these girls and they're always there for you. And it was really great. And through that I really earned they got my respect from that. And none of like my other teammates or anything from anywhere else ever came. It was just all the Canfield girls and it was really nice and to know that they were all there for me. So it really showed me for sure.
We're talking about the work that you put in and some of the things that you do to continue to make yourself a better basketball player. What do you think is the biggest growth that you've had in your game from last year to this year?
From this year to last year, I would say a lot more confidence and I'm getting a lot more rebounds too. Last year I only got a lot of like a few offensive rebounds here and there, but now I'm getting a lot more rebounds and I think I'm reading like the offense well and like I can get a pass out there to say KV Ritz if there's a defender that comes to me. I think I read the defense well on offense compared to last year and confidence for sure with my shot.
This coaching staff is one of the most respected ones in the area. You know, you got Matt Reel, who's been doing it at Canfield for a while, been doing it overall for a while. And of course, his assistants have been doing it for a while as well. Coach Pav was there before he was, and then just kind of moved over to the assistant role. What's it like to be coached by these guys and what's this coaching staff do for you?
You know, they're always there for me and it's intense, but it's good. Like yesterday we had a 2-hour-long practice and we really pushed it to get ready for it today. And they just really push us. They make us really, really prepared for our games. You know, Coach Real goes out and scouts all the time for whoever we're playing and our next opponent and whatnot. So we're always really prepared. And if we're not awake or we're not ready for practice or for a game, they make sure that we're ready. They get us ready to make sure that we're ready to go so we can get a win for sure.
We only get to see Coach Real on the sidelines. It's all we get to see. We don't get to see him nearly as much as you do. What's something about Coach Real that you think everyone else should know that doesn't get to see him in practices?
Oh boy. He, he just really pushes us. That's like the main thing. Like I said, if we are not awake, he will get us ready. We always do these things in practices we have our daily quotes, and it always goes with something that we are doing at practice, or it'll be like our main focus, or even if it was something to go along with, like the game before. Like yesterday, it was Steph Curry's quote. Good shooters are going to shoot it the same way every time, going with how we haven't been shooting the ball as well as we can or have been. So, he knows really well where to push us and how to push us with everything. And if we're not doing well, then he's going to make sure that we're doing well.
When you have a coach like that, I mean, does it make it easier to believe what he says when he's trying to get you guys and he pushes you guys and he knows that, he wants to see you reach your whole full potential?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it definitely helps that he wants to push us and make us the best players that we can be, for sure. Definitely makes it easier to believe him rather than it just being someone that's like, oh, whatever, I don't really care.
When you think about your future, we have to talk about your life after high school, even though we don't want to see you go. It's the reality of seniors, though. You got to graduate, you got to move on. What are some of the things that are in your path in the future? What are some goals that you have after you graduate Canfield?
So after I graduate Canfield, I would love to go and play college ball somewhere. I'm not really sure where yet, but I have a couple ideas. And then whenever I'm in college, I want to study psych and criminal justice, so then I can later on go into family law, hopefully.
All right, so let's talk about a couple things. First, we'll just do the basketball side of that. Obviously, you haven't made your decision yet. Hopefully, when you do, you bring it to YSN. You make it an exclusive decision. Well, we'll love to gas you up. But when you're talking about like things you're looking for, things that you want to see in a coaching staff and a program to make that decision, what things do you look for?
I want to have a coach that is approachable and that I can have a conversation with, and not just like, I guess, talk down to me or make me feel like terrible. I would love to just have a coach that I instantly click with, and because there's vibes you get off of people, and it's just like you don't click with this person, but then there's this other person that you instantly click with, and that's what I'm looking for. So.
And then when we talk about the major that you went up, and then obviously family law that you want to eventually get yourself at, and criminal justice is the major that you're going to have to use to get to that. What gave you a passion for being going through that path and wanting to be in that career field?
Well, my dad has always been fighting for my little brother to have custody of him and stuff. So I just see how the justice system works, and it really it makes me want to go and do something in it to maybe make it better, do it for the better, and to do everything I can to go help somebody else in the same situation.
When did you kind of find yourself saying this is something I really want to do, or I have a passion for this and I want to pursue that career?
I'd say probably about a year ago, whenever I first started going on visits and stuff, and I was actually have to figure out what I want to do in college. So I started thinking about it. I'm like, this is something that I would really like to do, go into family law. So I just think that it's something I'd be passionate about for sure.
All right, let's talk about off the court Grace McQuiston a little bit, get to know you before we let you go. What are some things that you like to do that don't have anything to do with basketball to give your mind that kind of mental break?
I guess this does kind of go with basketball, but I like to go and work out and go lift. That really gets my mind off of a lot of things. Other than that, I just like to relax and go hang out with my friends, maybe go get crumble or go to Target or something, the normal stuff. But other than that, I just like to hang out.
What is one thing that you spend more money on than you probably should?
Oh my gosh, probably Starbucks. My dad can attest to that.
Is it Starbucks almost every day?
Oh no, I don't get it that much.
Okay, so you're not one of those people.
No, I'd say probably maybe once or twice a week. It depends though.
What's the go-to order?
Oh my gosh. I probably a iced caramel latte right now, or a nice chai.
What was your last impulse buy? A thing that you just saw and you said, I gotta have it, so you have it.
I don't really impulse buy. If I impulse buy, then like it's gonna be food. Like if I see like a new like crumble cookie out, I'm like, oh my god, yeah, I have to get that. So I mean that was probably my last one. I don't really like
nothing wrong with that. No, you're driving around. You say, oh, I just passed crumble.
Yeah,
that's a
you're
good
like, oh,
idea.
Exactly.
Let's talk about teammates. What teammate do you text the most? Do you think?
I'd say. I'd say I probably text like all the seniors about the same, unless. Well, after I got my car accident, I texted Cammy Dill a lot for rides. For sure, she's my go-to ride person.
What teammate do you think is the most like you? Like fits your personality the most?
Oh, I'd say probably Macy. Macy and I have a lot of like, we're both pretty hard-nosed people.
We'll go to the opposite side of that spectrum. What teammate is like the opposite of personality from you?
Carly. She's pretty quiet in practice, and she just kind of keeps to herself. She's pretty quiet, so. Carly.
All right, Grace. We want to thank you so much. Before we let you go, though, we do want to give you the time to thank your support system, the people in your life that have your back, that have always had your back throughout your career. I want to give you the time to shine a light on them and give as many shout outs as you want.
No, I'm really thankful for my dad. All he's done, he's been there for me for everything. He's done everything for me. He's really been there for me. My grandparents, my grandma, my grandpa, they come over to every game. And if my grandma can't come to one, then I know my grandpa's going to be there. My coaches, Coach Rio, Coach Pav, Coach Nesbitt, even my old coaches, Coach Fish, Coach Kohler, they were really there for me. Coach Scott, Coach Mark Metzka, Coach Joe, they both been my skill coaches. My mom, she was here. She was always there for me, always supportive, my biggest fan. My older brother, he's really there for me all the time if I ever need anything. And all my teammates. My sisters.
Can't leave the teammates out.
No.
Can't do it, Grace. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. We wish you the best of luck in the rest of the season, and we can't wait to talk to you in real soon.
Oh, thank you.
Grace McQuiston from Canfield, a great senior leader, and a great interview to cap out the Friday. Let's go over real quick before we get out of here on Running Point the games that will be happening tonight. Let's pop back in to the scoreboard on ysnlive.com. We went from Thursday to today, January 5th. Here's what games we have involving YSN teams tonight. Cheney hosts the Urban Scholars, Academy of Urban Scholars. We have St. John going to Chalker. Lakeview goes to Girard tonight. Hoban hosting St. V's. That'll be a big one in Akron. Alliance goes to West Branch to battle the Warriors. Speaking of Warriors, Brookfield, the Warriors of their variety, will go to LeBray to host the Vikings. Coach Chad Kaiser going for win number 301. 300 wins he got on Wednesday. Let's see. Cambridge, the Bobcats going to Beaver Local tonight. Canfield going to Austintown Fitch to continue AAC play. It'll be a big one for the Cardinals as they won their first conference game on Tuesday. As we keep going, Champion traveling to Camel in MVAC play. Also in the MVAC, Crestview goes to Newton Falls. Garrettsville Garfield goes to Liberty. Jackson Milton goes to Waterloo. Back to the EOAC, Latonia traveling to Columbiana. Latonia coming off their win on Wednesday. It'd be a big mountain to climb, but if they beat the Clippers, they can open a lot of eyes. Lowville going to Middle Ridge tonight. Masson Washington travels to Boardman as the Spartans try to bounce back. McDonald going to play Western Reserve. Big rivalry in the MVAC Scarlet tier. Pymatuning Valley will travel to Wyndham. South Range goes to Poland. We have Southern Local. They will travel to Valley Christian. Springfield goes to Sebring tonight. Struthers goes to Niles, a matchup with the Dragons. Let's see. United goes to East Palestine. Warren Harding will travel to Howland. AAC play continues for both teams. Wellsville travels to Lisbon. We have East and Hubbard Mooney going to East Liverpool. That should be a really fun one in the Potter Fieldhouse. We have Beaver Falls traveling to Mohawk, just like the girls did yesterday. We have Salem going to Carrollton. We have a couple of girls' games in that CVC as Conneaut will travel to Lakeside. Jefferson hosts Harvey, and Edgewood hosts Madison. That's undefeated versus undefeated. Someone getting their first loss in Edgewood tonight. Should be a really good one on the network. Let's go over who will be where and what matchups you can see on the network at ysnlive.com/live. We'll hop in our games at a glance spreadsheet and see what we got going on tonight. A lot of games. So we'll start with the girls. Madison and Edgewood will be covered, and it's going to be Larry Jennings on the call with that one. We have Sam Ballast and Jake Nicholas. They will be at Girard for Lakeview and Girard. Ty Bartell and Matt Marr getting together for Akron, St. Vincent, St. Mary, and Akron Hoban. We have Michael Jadaki going to West Branch to cover the Warriors. Matt Porter will be at Fitch to cover Canfield and Fitch. Chris Colucci going to be calling basketball at Campbell Memorial for their matchup with Champion. Joe Eusebio going to be in Columbiana for their matchup with Latonia. We have Eric Hughes going in and covering Middle Ridge as Lowville goes to town. Donnie Riccatelli will be covering the Boardman boys game against Massillon, Washington. DJ Oakley is going to be at Western Reserve for McDonald and Reserve. We have Wyndham YouTube. They're going to be covering the Wyndham Pymatunning Valley game. Poland students are going to be covering the Poland game as South Range comes to town. Ian O'Brien going to be traveling to Niles for Struthers and Niles. Tim and Dan Figley going to be at East Palestine as they welcome in United. Rick Daly going to be doing Lisbon. Wellsville at Lisbon going to be covered by Rick Daly. Zach Svensson going to be at Hubbard for East coming to town. Mooney and East Liverpool, that one will be covered. Gary Burton and Scott Rogers on the call there. Noah Doty going to be going to Mohawk for their matchup with Beaver Falls. Last but not least, Cambridge and Beaver Local will be covered by Chris Sigler. Over the weekend, we have games on the network on Saturday. Girls basketball. Badger at Garrettsville Garfield will be covered by their school broadcast network. Joe Eusebio will have the Columbiana Brookfield game. Gary Burton and Scott Rogers will be at Beaver Local tonight. We have Matt Marr tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. Matt Marr and Jordan Barber going to be at Campbell Memorial tomorrow morning for their matchup with Latonia. Dom O'Brien going to be at Lowville for Warren JFK and Lowville for girls basketball. Chris Sigler going to be at United for Springfield and United. I will be in Poland tomorrow as they welcome in Crestview on the girls' side. Michael Janaki going to be at West Branch for their matchup with Boardman. Ty Bartell tomorrow going to be at Fitch for their matchup with Canfield. Noah Ricks will be in Mooney as they host Struthers. And Matt Marr and Jordan Barber will be doing night action for girls basketball. Western Reserve hosting Middle Ridge. That should be a really fun one. 6:15 your start time there. Boys basketball tomorrow. Lakeside at Harvey. Going to be Sam Torres on the call. The school will have the Orange Lions covered tomorrow. Tyler Hertz will be in Grand Valley as they welcome in Cardinal Local. Mark Franken going to be on the call. Heartland Christian will be hosting Chalker tomorrow. United has Urban Scholars coming to town, and it will be Derek Rhodes on the call there. We'll have wrestling on the network tomorrow as Chris Colucci is in Jackson Milton for their invitational. And we'll also have the Orange Swim Invitational on the network tomorrow as well. So plenty to look forward to this weekend. Make sure to check it all out. ysnlive.com/live is where you can find it. And I want to thank you so much for tuning in today to this episode of Running Point. Brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. I'll be back on Monday from 1 to 2 to recap all the weekend's action. Make sure you check it all out